Okay. All right, we're good to go. So as I was saying, our for those who are unaware, our future DOC or DMPs of Color talks, student speaker series, basically is a space for us students and new DMP students or DMP freshly minted DMP professionals to just have this space to engage in connections, inspiring each other, and just seeing what we're doing. That way we collectively elevate this voice. And tonight, uh, we have a special guest, Dr. Joyner. I'll give you a little background. We actually met through our fearless leader and as you know, the boss, Dr. Daniel McCamey, who's like, I mean, I garden since moving to Texas, and she's a gardener, except of humans and of souls, and she just connects so many people, and what she do is so special. So I always feel like we gotta highlight it, even if she's here or she's not. Just speaking her name and elevating just the work that she does is so important. And our event tonight is titled "Leveraging the Student Voice Through the Pediatric NP Lens." I think the pediatric NP profession and specialty is such a distinct place to be in. Those individuals are very special, and of course, we are so many different, multifaceted profession that we should be having everyone in these spaces talking. So even if you're not a pediatric NP, you're gonna come across some kids, right? Or you're gonna come across adolescents and individuals who are from this population and patient group. So it's important to know who's doing the work in there and who you may be able to connect with. Just to highlight how special this profession is, right? There's only 26,000 PNPs as of 2022, 20,000, about 20,000 in primary care, about 4,000 in acute care, and about 1,500 with dual degrees. As you see here, 2% with a DNP or PhD, so with that terminal degree. So it's again highlights just how special this field and specialty is. Now, welcome, drum roll. I got to figure out how to make sound in this thing, man. I got to jazz this up. Like something had to be playing in the back. But I just want to say welcome, Dr. Jennie Joyner. She is our guest speaker for tonight. Go ahead and say hi, Jenny, real quick.
Hello, I know. I was like, where's my intro song?
Uh, Listen, I got to work on that. I'm gonna put some
Hi,
Jeezy in the
everybody. Super excited to be here. Super excited to connect with you all. I hope this is a conversation I want to hear from you all too. So, looking forward to getting into it. Um,
Excellent. And without further ado, let me just give you the bio on Dr. Joyner. So Dr. Joyner is a pediatric acute care nurse practitioner with expertise in neonatal and pediatric critical care. She began her career about 17 years ago, so she got it out the mud. A dedicated advocate for health equity and advanced practice leadership, Dr. Joyner has built her career on collaboration, service, and lifelong learning. She earned her BSN from Milligan College, MSN from Duke University, and Doctorate of Nursing Practice degree from the University of Texas here in Austin. And I want to say, you could correct me if I'm wrong, you graduated 2024. Is
mhm.
that correct?
Yep,
Okay, excellent. May of 2024?
May 2024. So,
Excellent, excellent,
yeah.
excellent. So
So new. Some of y'all out here uh more seasoned than me in the DMP life.
exactly, exactly. So, and Dr. Joyner currently serves as the lead pediatric nurse practitioner in the newborn nursery at St. David's North Austin Medical Center here in Austin, Texas. Dr. Joyner is a co-founder and chair of the first Advanced Practice Provider Council at her hospital, a aim to foster belonging and elevate the voices of APPs through shared governance. She also serves as the president of the Austin chapter of the National Association of Pediatric Nurse Practitioners and is a member of NAPNAP's National DEI Committee. I love NAPNAPs. I'm sorry. She
We're not taking
serves.
naps though.
Yeah, yeah. Now she serves where she serves on the steering committee for the City of Austin Maternal Health Equity Collaborative, aimed to advance citywide multi-organizational partnerships focused on health equity for mothers and babies. Her current research focuses on newborn and pediatric health equity, specifically for late preterm infants, examining care delivery through social determinants of health lens. Dr. Joyner believes that multidisciplinary collaboration, advocacy, and service delivered with a joyful heart are essential to driving meaningful change. As you heard, she is well versed in her space. So again, it is a pleasure to have you, Dr. Joyner. Uh,
Be here.
Dr. Joyner has no disclosures for tonight. And before I have you talk, Dr. Joyner, please, I just want to again just reiterate from the beginning. Our objective tonight is this space is really highlighting the part of as a student, you have such a interesting position and special and unique place to be in. So the impact of a DMP project on your professional development will provide an insight into leveraging this DMP journey, because a lot of times you feel like you're just kind of swimming through rough waters, and it's hard to be intentional about what does the goal after looks like, or what does the goal even now through this looks like. So hearing some inside perspective on that will help, and then encouraging just you all to engage in this conversation, and please be a voice. There is no project too small. There's no work that's insignificant. If you are here, you're doing the work. And me personally, I want to highlight y'all as students because that's such a powerful voice. Without further ado, you tired of me talking, so please, Dr. Joyner. My first kind of question is, before we actually talk about your project, how you even came to choosing a project, came to thinking about it, because we have students at all levels here. Some who have started DMP project and others who just starting their courses. So if you would highlight us or kind of fill us in.
Yeah, so a little bit about my doctoral journey. So first, the decision to go back and get my DMP. I'm a postmaster's DMP graduate. So I have been a nurse practitioner for about 13 years, a nurse for about 17, and I waited over a decade to go back to school. And why is that? The DMP came about in 2006. So it was maybe like 5 years old when I was getting my master's degree. And I remember them pushing, oh, get your DMP, get your DMP. And I thought, why would I do that? I'm not going to make any more money. I'm not going to do that. What's the point? I'm going to be doing the same thing. And a decade into my career as a nurse practitioner, I just realized I felt good about my provider practice in pediatrics and what I was doing, and was already participating in leadership roles. And I thought, I have a lot to say and a lot to do here, but I need tools to leverage these systems because my voice is only going so far. And so decided to go back to get my doctoral degree sort of as a personal journey for professional development. And entering DMP school, I think because that's how I entered and had a lot of time to think about why I was going in, I was just soaking up every moment of it. I have loved it. I loved it. I love learning. And I really wanted to think about who or what was the thing that I could impact the most or get the most out of it while I was there, to leverage having a broader impact in the populations where I work. So I've always had a heart for vulnerable populations. That's kind of my jam. If you're on the edges of society, you're my people, and that's who I want to be with, spending my time with. Um, in the newborn nursery, believe it or not, there's diversity within the newborn population. And so there's a group, late preterm infants, that I have always felt very passionate about. These are babies who are born a little bit early, between 34 and 36 weeks gestation. So they're not quite premature enough that they end up in the NICU automatically, but they're not full-term babies and they're often overlooked. And so just seeing in my clinical practice how often that these babies kind of fell through the cracks. A lot of pediatricians, we didn't even really separate them as a group until about 20 years ago. So a lot of pediatricians that are older don't even treat them differently from full-term babies because when they were training, there really wasn't a need to. That wasn't part of their training. And so I felt like, okay, this is the group I need to focus on. And surprise, surprise, this is also a group that has a greater disparities, racial disparities, poverty disparities, and other minority groups make up the largest percentage of this group of babies. And so just referencing the last slide, but this one applies to it as well, starting with a burning question, what would be the most effective way to impact this population? And at first, I wanted to just implement a whole program. Okay, we got to do a whole toolkit for the late preterm infant. Let's just revamp everything. A few years before getting my doctoral degree, I wrote the order set for those babies in our newborn nursery. And I wanted to expand on that. And what I quickly realized is that this work is about a tiny raindrop in the ocean. You've got to take a little bite-sized piece and chip away at it because there's so much work to be done. But when you do that, the work builds over time. And so started with this rigorous inquiry, if I can pronunciate. Um, in the beginning of our doctoral program, we were asked, we learned how to do a systematic review. So diving deep into the literature, I'm sure many of you have been doing that. I remember crying in the beginning, like, I don't know what I'm doing. And going back to school so many years later, a decade after being out of school, I mean, I had to relearn how to learn. Because when I was getting my master's, we had printed PowerPoints and it was just so different. I mean, this is a whole new age. So in the beginning it was tough, but I loved it. And now I've got all kinds of new tricks. I mean, old dogs can learn new tricks. That's just real. But I did this systematic review, and that really laid the groundwork for highlighting where the biggest gaps were. But not only in the literature, I then had to apply it to my clinical practice. And that required relationship building and deepening the relationships with the people around me. So asking questions of the nurses, even the families I was caring for. What's the thing that's most important to you? What do you feel like was missing the most? You know, just taking my own little anecdotal kind of running survey in my head, talking with physicians and nursing leaders and everybody, like where is the gap? And so after looking at the literature and looking at the gaps in our actual my local environment, we developed me and the mentors that I had developed a quality improvement project we call the Late Preterm Infant Feeding Bundle. And this was a project aimed to improve um, feeding and paying attention to how we feed late preterm infants in the newborn nursery. And it was a multidisciplinary project. We revamped after COVID, a lot of things changed. You know, a lot of hospitals went through just going back to like surviving. And so a lot of things fell by the wayside. So we revamped our quality meetings and um, all these things came of this project and met with multidisciplinary teams. And it was awesome. We wrote an order set, which had a practice guideline for the nursing staff. I wrote a parent handout with educational information about late preterm infants, kind of what to know about them and things to look for and what to expect and a discharge feeding plan. And it was a really great project. And then we had some challenges along the way. And so anytime you're going, know that your challenges, that's going to be part of the journey. And sometimes those are your greatest gifts. So navigate every DMP program is different. In my program, we had to go through the IRB. They wanted us all to experience doing that. And I'm grateful for that because now I have an idea. And I ended up having to go through 3 different IRBs to get approval for my project. And so that takes time. You know, that kind of thing is not quick. And doing that, it in the time frame of a DMP program, that's something you really have to think about is what I want to do. Is it feasible? Am I going to be able to get all of this done in the time frame of the program? And so with this quality improvement project, we almost got it all done, but not quite. And in a few months, I guess maybe maybe 2 semesters were left in my program, we realized, okay, we're not going to get the whole thing done or get enough data to be able to have a completed product at the end of the program. So I asked one of my mentors, can we pivot and do something else? Because I really want to have something completed to show. And I just felt really dedicated to wanting that outcome. And so we did. We continued the quality improvement project. In fact, there's still things ongoing with that project, which is actually a beautiful thing post DMP graduate life to still have projects ongoing. But we switched and so we started this other project um, looking at the cost of care for late preterm infants from a social determinants of health lens. And so I had an amazing physician mentor, Dr. Desai, and he sort of took me under his wing and taught me how to analyze a national database. So, have any of you heard of AHRQ? This is a national, I know I can't see a lot of your faces, but national database. There are data sets there available on all kinds of different data. So we use the HCUP Kids, which is the Healthcare Utilization Project Kids database. And this is the largest all-payer pediatric database in the United States. And it takes information from hospitals, so like little, what they call cluster sampling from hospitals, and you can analyze all kinds of things, associations between different diseases, cost of care, there's all kinds of things available. And so he taught me how to do that. And we looked at the cost of care for late preterm infants through a social determinants of health lens. I got training in all kinds of statistical analysis. Um, I was able I have a manuscript that's under review right now with some of the outcomes. I was able to present this project multiple times at, I think, 3 different conferences, one international conference, the Pediatric Academic Societies meeting, which is the largest international pediatric conference in the world. And just the conversations, the networking, and the opportunities that have sparked from learning to do something totally new that I would have never even thought about before this doctoral program has been invaluable. And so I know that sounds like a lot. Okay, she did this, and all these different things during my doctoral program. I don't think everyone is expected to do all of that. That's what I decided to do and taking an early pivot. But the point is that some of those early failures were just, finish lines that became new starting lines for something else. Um, and and that was really valuable for me. So I kind of went into the next slide too, kind of talking about these projects, um,
Sorry.
but those were the things. So here you can see my systematic review. I ended up publishing that during my program. And so you can read that publication. And I look back and I'm like, wow, that could have been so much better. You learn as you go. So y'all don't have to read that. But you learn as you go, you keep getting better. And then my quality improvement project, this just kind of talks about all the different things that we did there. And then the national cohort analysis, retrospective cohort analysis is what we did. And so does anyone have any questions about any of those projects or kind of that timeline? I gave you a lot of information about my personal timeline in about 5 minutes,
Dr.
but
Joyner,
I want to hear from you all. Yeah.
Dr. Joyner, do you mind if I jump in real quick?
Yes, please.
I do wanna highlight, because in our conversation, I know you gave so much just now, but I do want to highlight. Um,
Oh, we lose you?
Correct me if I'm wrong. You didn't
Oh, there.
start doing your work and then this systematic. I believe you told me the physician said, "Hey, you have," or your faculty said, "You have something that's worth publishing already." So
Yes.
just touch on that because I think it's important to know. Um, there's intentionality, and if you move in that, you'll be surprised what comes of it. So just briefly, just say, like, how'd you get to even publishing? Because I know you gave us so much.
Yes. So my systematic review, I thought it was terrible. And I had one professor who was like, Jenny, this is not terrible and you need to publish this. And I'd be happy to help you get this done. Actually, Dr. Papermaster, who published it with me. And she really encouraged us. This systematic review was the paper that about killed me that first semester. I mean, I was like, I do not know how to do a lit review, PubMed. I do not know how to do all of this searching and putting in your search terms and all of these things. Just, I didn't, I had been out of school so long. And as a clinician, you search for things, but you find your own ways to do things. And so this was a skill and a muscle I had to kind of wake up and use again. But she really encouraged me, and reaching out to her and Dr. Champion, my other faculty, they really took me under their wing. During that publication process, I also learned the beauty of feedback, because getting something published is not always going to happen the first time. And feedback is so valuable. The more someone looks at your work and kind of, it might feel like they're ripping it apart, but looking at all these different things that you did, you just continuously learn and improve. And now when I write, I feel so much more confident in so many different areas because of all of that critique that I was able to receive from that publication and some other manuscripts I've worked on since then. And so, yeah, that was that first publication, and was able to get that done during the program. But it really took my two faculty taking me under their wing, and me kind of trusting them along the way with, like, oh my gosh, this takes way longer than I thought. And this is a lot of work. Um, yeah.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. And so just I know you highlighted that going through the IRB was one of those challenges, and this
Mhm.
the daunting process of like, how can I even write this, and the trauma of writing that, right? But I want to say, is there anything you did to navigate those scenarios? Like, did you have to, how did you bring yourself back to
Yeah.
center, or
Yeah.
what is it that you did
So
there?
for the IRB, I went through, like I said, three different IRBs. And I found that reaching out to the research departments was the most helpful, like finding a person in each department to really ask all the questions. Because when you go through the IRB process, there's many different forms, there's different types of research. If you're not doing research, then you have to like figure out how to get exempt status. We studied a lot about it during my doctoral program, but reaching out to the research assistants in the research department was super helpful. And then relying on professors as well. So that was the IRB process for me.
Awesome, awesome. And
Mhm.
now, when I was reading your bio, I mentioned a few professional organizations that you're in. We all know the value of DMPs of color, right?
Yes.
We've seen that. But how did just your work in your DMP journey, or being a DMP student, or even the project maybe, how did that transition or influence your professional side of things, or vice versa even?
Yeah. So all of these projects weren't just me. I really want to highlight that. It took, in my opinion, legions of people to get any of this work done, and incredible networking and relationships. Really, the relationships have been the gold here to do all of this work. And many relationships that were built over years prior to, but many that came out of the process of the DMP and learning to network and ask questions that lead you to deeper relationships. But the professional organizations were key. So Dr. McCamey, I was introduced to her through another professor, and we instantly hit it off. She's one of my mentors and friends. And she was so encouraging to me throughout the whole process, also helping to slow me down at times, because I don't know if you can tell, I'm a go-getter. I like to go get it done. And she was like, Jenny, come on, we gotta take one bite at a time. But like her mentorship was incredible, and finding DMPs of color and just other people who are in the same situation. I often was the only person of color in my master's program, in my bachelor's program. I mean, I just felt like I never had someone who looked like me, who cared about the populations from my lens. And so that could be isolating at times. So having other people who also have done the work, who look like me and who have some shared lived experiences was also invaluable for me. And then other organizations like NAPNAP, the National Association of Pediatric Nurse Practitioners, that is my professional home for my specialty in pediatrics. And that organization has been invaluable to me, pairing me with my peers and giving me the ability to engage in scholarship, in mentorship, in friendship with all kinds of pediatric nurse practitioners from across the nation. And we have, like a lot of professional organizations, there's special interest groups. So I'm part of a newborn special interest group, an acute care special interest group. I'm also on the National DEI committee. And so I'm communing with people who have shared interests across the nation, and that's been invaluable. And then in professional organizations, there's always opportunity for continuing education. You need that for licensure, and not only to get it, but also to create it. So I've been a part of projects where I'm getting now to create continuing education, and that's a whole nother area that I never thought I would be a part of, creating education for my peers. And so I would really encourage, for you guys to get involved in your professional organizations, DMPs of color, of course, but then also if you have a specialty, whatever that specialty is, really dive in, volunteer for board positions or other committee positions, things that interest you, because it will feed you in ways that you can't get other areas in your profession. So I would encourage you to do that. And so, for example, with NapNap in our Austin chapter, I'm on the board and we have 12 board members, and they're amazing. They're passionate individuals who work so hard to host events in Austin, and we're doing amazing things for our local community. And it feels really good to be part of that work. With other pediatric nurse practitioners. As you saw, there's not a ton of us. We're not the majority of the nurse practitioner workforce, but there are a lot of us in pediatrics. And so to have others who share that role, and to get to work alongside them, not just in the work setting, is really special.
Excellent, excellent. And one of the things I heard out of that, Dr. Joyner, is, or at least for me, is you become an expert fast. Believe it, whether you want to or not, you'll become an expert fast, and you'll be thrown into things, and being prepared for that. So I would say, as a student right now, just imagining and owning that voice inside you that says, "Yeah, I know my stuff." Right?
Yeah.
You ain't gotta be cocky because you still gotta pass tests and all this other stuff, right?
Yes.
But at least tell yourself and us in this group, when the people you're around where you're comfortable say, "Yo, I know my stuff." Like,
Yes. Yeah.
I'm about it. Like I'm in here, and I'm really doing the work. So I think that's what I heard, and it comes fast. It
Yeah.
does comes fast, that shit. So Dr. Joyner, I want to kind of go into then. I guess if you can give us maybe two or three things that were memorable about your experience from doing the DMP project, and maybe even the journey. And I think the next slide has the lessons that were learned. So,
Yeah.
oh,
You know,
they know that phrase well.
yeah, I think y'all heard this before, but your network is your net worth. I told you I waited a decade to go back to school, and when I got back to UT, I was like a little kid at Christmas. Like, oh my gosh, I have exposure to the business school and this and the that. And I want to tell you, wherever you are, diversify your network. Don't just stay in nursing or in your specialty. Go outside of it. While I was at UT, I had the opportunity to attend some AI conferences in the design school, I was afraid of AI, transformed my perception, and opened up doors in networking with people that have given me a whole new insight into AI. I also um, participated. We had this opportunity come by. It was called Empower Your Pitch. And so it was a speaking competition. I'm an introverted extrovert. I'll be out here and then I need to go be alone for a while and recharge. But I do enjoy being with people. I really do. But I also need my alone time. But public speaking was something that I really didn't feel confident with. And so there was a public speaking competition called Empower Your Pitch, where you're supposed to take your doctoral work and give your pitch in 3 minutes. And I thought, well, if there's any time to work on a skill, now's the time. I've got all this time set aside to do the work, and I have all of these resources in front of me. So I entered that competition. I made it into the finals across the whole University of UT. It was an incredible experience. We got to do workshops on storytelling, research storytelling with the writing department. So there were PhDs in all these different areas teaching us about public speaking, about writing. They would review all your work and help you refine it. That served me so well. When I went to go present internationally, the confidence that I brought at the international conference was totally different than when I had presented in the past because I had a way to deliver the message that I was trying to deliver that was clear and concise and got the main points across in a way that was relatable to my audience. So I really encourage you take advantage in your schools if there are other areas of interest that you have, think outside the box. Is there someone in business if you're trying to leverage a business idea that you can connect with? Is there someone in tech if you need to work on a marketing plan? Is there an educator? Um, Maybe talk to someone in education. What is the most effective way to educate your particular audience? So think outside of the box. We're amazing in nursing and we can leverage. Nurses are so good at multitasking. Well, actually, no one's good at multitasking, but we're so good at juggling a lot of things at once. You know, when we're dealing with patients, we're dealing with the patient and the family and the physical health, the mental, the spiritual health. We do this naturally. And so we need to do it for ourselves too when we think about our networks. So network is your net worth. I can't speak highly enough of that lesson learned during my doctoral journey. Determination matters. This work is not for the faint of heart. You are going to work to the bone and want to give up, and you have to keep putting one step in front of the other. And just know that there are legions of people behind you. You are not alone. And although it may feel like this isn't going to make a difference later, I want you to know that you are making a difference. And you're making a difference for our children because getting your doctoral degree right now is literally paving the future for the future of nursing. And so you have to continue to remotivate yourself along the way. And then the last nugget that I learned is the power of failure, which I shared a lot about that, but just every failure was really a redirection toward the next thing. And you you can take those lessons and you might see later on how they served you. You may not see it in the moment, but just if you stay open to where's the lesson in this, you are just going to continuously grow. So, like I said, my quality improvement project not being able to be completed was a blessing because then I got to do this statistical analysis that was so much deeper. And now when I'm reading research articles, I have a new perspective on what that means because I was able to dive deeper into that work. So, failures are your power. You know, that is where you can fuel yourself, one of those places to remotivate.
Awesome. And just kind of Dr. Joyner, to add on that, for me is as a student, when you're a student, that's the best excuse to, I say, to bother people or to go, hey, I'm a
Yes,
student.
yes, totally.
I have a question about business, or like, hey, I'm a student. I don't know anything about AI, but I'm in this field. So
Yes,
I think it is the perfect excuse for you to have this I call it the professional playground.
yes, yes,
You
yes,
know, so I want to highlight that point. And even, honestly, even outside of that, when you graduate and you're in your profession, right? That's still an excuse. Hey,
yes,
I am unfamiliar with this area that I see that you are an expert or you have information in. Do you mind providing some insight? Because I'm looking
yes,
for this and this. So not just saying I'm just looking, but kind of making it more targeted. So
yeah.
I thank you for sharing that. Now, I know we've been doing a lot of talking, so I just want to open the floor up to anyone just to go ahead and ask any questions. Please say your name, and I'll look at the chat too to see if there's any questions in there. I think somebody asked about the database, but if anybody want to ask
Oh, yeah.
questions, yeah.
Yeah, see they posted the database, AHRQ.
hmm And that's where you can find the statistics on the pediatric hospitalization you were referring to.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
have the HCUP Kids Healthcare Utilization
yeah.
Project is what it's called. That's the database that we used. You do have to purchase it for a fee. It's a small fee, but and I do think you need an expert, to a statistical expert to partner with you for that kind of analysis, but that is an option. Your schools likely have statisticians. Yes, and someone said there's so many tools at AHRQ. I agree, there's so many tools there. The IHI Institute for Healthcare Improvement is another great resource, and I would recommend going there for if you're into quality improvement or any evidence-based practice improvement work. IHI is great, and you can take little mini courses. They assigned mini courses from there during my doctoral program, but I've even gone there afterward. So IHI is another great resource.
And just being lateral or reaching out to if your school has degrees in statistics, math, those people, there's students in those programs that you could just be like, hey, you learned in stats? Let me pick your brain about this. So rather than just saying I need to reach out to the head honcho, there are people, especially for us as Black and brown individuals, we're in all spaces, right? And supporting each other and speaking collectively is so important. So looking outside of just that nursing field, like you said, using a
Mhm.
statistician, there's somebody in school right now who's learning this who would love to collaborate with you because you got this wealth of data that they could just play with. So I think that's such important. And then I saw Dr. Kimberly Madison, she commented about imposter syndrome. And yes, you are so correct on that. This is a great way to leveraging that expertise to decrease that sense of imposter syndrome. Anybody else with any questions? Anything else in the chat? Let's see. Oh, I think that Dr. Madison asked, where did you go to school? Looking to publish again. Oh, all right, Dr. Joyner, if you want to just give her your brief intro.
Yeah, so I got my doctoral degree at UT Austin here in Texas and my master's at Duke University in North Carolina. And my undergrad was at a small little college in Tennessee called Milligan College. And looking to publishing always. Scholarship is our footprint. So that's the other thing I'll say. Dissemination, dissemination, dissemination. And there's many ways to disseminate the work that you do. You can be on podcasts, you can do speaking engagements, you can write a manuscript, you can publish poetry about your work. You can there's so many different ways. And so diversify the ways you disseminate and make sure to disseminate your work because that is the footprint. When we look back, there aren't a lot of us in the far back history documented anyway. But
Mhm.
right now, we have the knowledge of how to um, create our trail, and so we need to create our trail and leave those breadcrumbs for our future. And so, please disseminate.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And to tag on to that, this is part of that breadcrumb we're leaving, these type of events, right? Because, at least my hope is, and, our hope is that 20 years from now, somebody just randomly digging through the internet going, yo, what were they doing back then? And then hopping on and finding this conversation and going, oh, shoot, all right, oh, that's what's up. Like, who's this? Who's that? And just adding to that collective. So that's why it's so important that y'all are here. And the big part is DNPs do research. Don't let nobody minimize um this profession that we all love, that this degree that we work so hard for, understanding that politics are politics, but the work is always going to precede any and everything you may hear about. So and I'm not saying you gotta fight everybody you meet, just let your work stand on its own. So when anybody coming to your door talking, you got a handful of substantial things to say. Yo, get out my face. I'm on podcast. I'm engaged. I got this, I got that. I'm moving. So sit down somewhere because you know what I mean? So please, that's my takeaway before I let just give Dr. Joy to give her takeaway. Uh, let me see if the chat has any other questions. Yeah, Dr. Madison, let me highlight, yeah, your team at Mahogany Dermatology Nursing. She is also another one of our DOCs is doing incredible work with diversity in dermatology, with Mahogany Dermatology Nursing. I'll let you highlight that in a little bit here. And she's in Texas, so shout out. You know, Texas is holding it down. But Dr. Joyner, let me go ahead and give you your takeaway.
Yes, be brave, be bold, be you. And I like to run, so I listen to Coach Bennett. He's on the Nike Plus running app if there's any runners out there. I know I might be solo in that journey who wants that torture. But he always says, celebrate success in as many ways as you can. Celebrate every small win. You showed up today, celebrate. How are you celebrating every small win? That's so important because all those wins add up, and that's how you win the race. So.
Excellent, excellent. Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Joyner. So I want to just highlight a few things before we wrap it up. We do have some other upcoming events as far as student focus. Just a student, love to get a student group going. So please let me see you all there because this conference or upcoming conference, I would love for the student voice to be even more powerful. Maybe even have their own panel. Uh, I don't want to do all the talking, even though I could talk and I'll hold it down for the students. So I really do want y'all or any students that y'all know who are looking to engage and also leverage the space. As you're working on your DMPs, if you have DMPs essentials, this is part of it. Technology, I can't remember them off the top of my head, but technology and disseminated information is one of them. So you talking is a leadership position and it'll satisfy multiple DMP essentials. And I think that's so critical in us helping each other because we know how clinical hours are and we know how the system cannot work in our favor. So this is the space where we can do that. Another future DLC speaker series, which I'm excited about. We have Jeffrey Howard, who is graduating from Baylor. So, BU student, this May, he developed the advocacy toolkit, which is actually being used by the Texas Nurse Practitioner org here. So I think as a student, just that's powerful. Like we're doing so many good things. So April 15th is the tentative date that I'm looking for to have them come sit down and talk with us. And then virtual commencement is also coming up June 21st. And Dr. Madison, if you can, I want to just share the floor so you can share your work as well with the group very briefly and where they can just tap into you. Dr. Joyner, please add your LinkedIn or contact in the chat so that way if anybody want to reach out and connect, they can as well.
Oh, that's so kind of you. I do apologize. I'm walking the dog, so if it gets loud, that's why.
It's all
But
good.
yes, for no one who doesn't know me, I'm a proud member, one of the first 500 to both be a member of
Hey,
DMPs of Color and renew my membership. My
hey,
name is Dr. Kimberly Madison. I'm a doctorally prepared nurse practitioner, and I specialize in dermatology, education, and nursing with emphasis on skin of color, AI, and AR. I have the platform, the Melanin Initiative podcast, where we have two missions. The first is to promote health literacy amongst the public. The second is to elevate the expertise of nurses, highlight all the diverse career opportunities in healthcare, and show our peers all the ways they can leverage their expertise as both clinicians and entrepreneurs. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. So please check it out. She's very active on LinkedIn and on Instagram as well. So you can definitely catch a lot of that information there. And with that, last thing we'll leave off with is remember you are not a you're not a raindrop in the ocean. I can't even see what my thing blocked. You are the entire ocean in a raindrop, Rumi. So thank you. If you're not following us or tapped in, please tap in to us on all these various platforms that we utilize. And I mean, without further ado, good night. Thank you for showing up. Thank you, Dr. Joyner, for joining us for this conversation. And I want you to stay on real quick.
Yes, thank you all. And if
Yeah.
anyone wants to connect, please. I see I'm old. I don't know how to put the LinkedIn link, but you can look my name up, Jennie Joyner, and you'll find me on LinkedIn. And then there's my email address. Would love to connect if anyone's in pediatrics, and I'll be at the NAP conference in March if anyone's going, if there's PMPs out there. But yes, please.
Awesome, awesome. Well, good night, y'all. Thank you for showing up. And again, I will see y'all in some of our future events. I'm gonna stop recording. Let me make sure I don't stop. Let me stop sharing my screen. I feel like I'm real showing my age now.
Y'all have any questions off record?
All right. Let me stop recording.